Hello, Petals. How you doing? How's everything going? How's life? I appreciate all of the comments and messages and, just every single time I record, it just reminds me about what a wonderful community we've got, and I am very grateful. I really do appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope I can give you as much joy and support as you give to me. It's appreciated more than you'll ever know, and yeah, you're an amazing community, and I adore your souls, especially when you hit the like and subscribe and share button and the notify bell. We have to do that. Yeah, anyway. How are things? How's life? How's everything going? Are you coping all right with the weather in your area? I was having an incredible conversation with my bestie with regards to spoons, and I prefer the Korean type spoon, the long handle, nice heavy weighted end, and it just kind of like, it's just a really good spoon to all round eat your dinner with. It's perfect. But obviously my erstwhile friend prefers a soup spoon, which was a beautiful soup spoon, and I absolutely am there as well, because especially if you like to have foods like more like the soups and the casseroles and that sort of thing. Port. I must share with you this. I was howling when it was actually sent to me, and I'm not going to do all of them, but I'm going to do a couple of them. But it's just something I always wanted to do, but I never really got into it. I think I talked to you guys about it previously, where I wanted to kind of like do a Victoriana sort of series, which didn't really get off the ground, which was a bit of a shame. But this is one of the things that happens. Okay? So I just need to go to my screenshots. I might actually find what I'm looking for. That'd be a good idea. There it is. 9 things to whisper to complete strangers. 1. I have the plans. Do you have the diamond? That's pretty kind of like, pretty vanilla. I'm not sure there's anything wrong with that one. Next one. Number 2. Salty peanuts. Salty peanuts. Salty peanuts. That's getting a bit quirky on the quirky scale. Number 3. Secretly, I'm a gorilla. Bit obvious, that one. That's kind of like, just there to kind of like shock people, but Then this other one. 4. I feel this to the core of my being. Does this make sense to you? Like, any of it? 5. Pretend we are turtles named Luther and Emily. I don't care who's who. That just sounds a little bit kinky as far as I'm concerned. Number 6. Are your pockets full of macaroni and cheese too? Well, that's nothing like takeout food. Number 7. I arrived by elephant. And number 8. Bread is real. It is. It's a way of life. Bread, toast, tea. That's that way of life. But number 9 really got me, which was my absolute favourite. Under different circumstances, I believe we could have been the owners of rival graveyards, each resorting to increasingly desperate and, not to mention, questionable, nay, even illegal means to secure, how should we say, permanent residence. I love how much that would actually kind of, what do you not like that voice, little man? The little man was growling. You see, I'm running a little experiment because it's nice and cool in this room. So I'm going to try and keep the dogs in here as opposed to being downstairs. But Elvie's got a bit of a grumble on, and I don't know why he's got a grumble on. So we'll have to keep an ear out for him. So if he does do any interrupting, I'm really sorry. Anyway, thank you for listening to my TED Talk. So now it's time to crack on, because I'm nearly 4 minutes in, and for me that's a long time. Right, my lovely beans, let's get on with chapter 3 of another fine myth by the wonderful Mr. Robert Asprin. The only thing more reliable than magic is one's friends. No, it is no facts. Macbeth wouldn't probably take friends' advice from him. Aahz scowled and repeated the gesture, a bit quicker this time. The scene remained unchanged. I decided something was wrong. Is something wrong? I asked politely.
I said, you better believe there's something wrong.
Aahz snarled.
It's not working.
Are you sure you're doing it right?
Yes, I'm sure I'm doing it right. Just like I've been sure the last 50 times I did it. I said I did it.
He was starting to sound a little bit annoyed. Can you...
Look, kid. If I knew what was wrong, I'd have fixed it. I said I would have fixed it already. Now just shut up and let me think.
He sank down to sit cross-legged in the centre of the pentagram, where he began sketching vague patterns in the floor as he mumbled darkly to himself. I wasn't sure if he was trying some alternate incantation or was simply thinking really hard, but decided it would be unwise to ask. Instead, I used the time to organise my scrambled thoughts. Now, I still wasn't sure if Aahz was a threat to me, or if he was my only possible salvation from a greater threat. I mean, by this time I was pretty sure he was kidding about ripping my heart out, but that's the sort of thing one wants to be really very sure of. One thing I had learned for certain, there was more to this magic stuff than floating feathers around.
That's got to be it.
Aahz was on his feet again, glaring at Garkin's body.
That ill-begot son of a wombat.
What's a wombat? I asked, then immediately wished I hadn't. The mental image that sprang into my mind was so horrifying, I was sure I didn't want details. I needn't have worried. Aahz was not about to take the time to answer me.
Well, it's a pretty crumbing joke, that's all I have to say.
What are you talking about, Aahz?
I'm talking about Garkin. He did this to me. I said if I thought it would go this far, I would have turned him into a goatfish when I had the chance.
Not ticking on the idea of a goatfish. Can you imagine that, a goatfish butting you? Like, go, plop, 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 but. No, don't like that. Aahz, I still don't. I stopped. He had ceased his ranting and was looking at me. I shrank back reflexively before I recognised the snarl as his smile. I liked it better when he was raving.
I'm sorry, Skeeve, he purred. I guess I haven't been very clear.
I was growing more uneasy by the minute. I wasn't used to having people, much less demons, being nice to me. That's okay. I was just wondering.
You see, the situation is this. Garkin and I have been playing little jokes on each other for some time now. It started one time when we were drinking, and he stiffed me with the bill. Well, the next time I summoned him, I brought him in over a lake, and he had to do his demon act armpit deep in water. He got by. Well, I won't bore you with the details, but we've gotten in the habit of putting each other in awkward or embarrassing situations. It's really very childish, but quite harmless. But this time,
Aahz's eyes started to narrow.
But this time the old frog kiss has gone too. It seems to have gotten a little out of hand. Don't you agree?
He bared his fangs at me again in a smile. I wanted very badly to agree with him, but I didn't have the foggiest idea what he was talking about. You still haven't told me what's wrong.
What's wrong is that stinking slime-monger took away my powers!
He roared, forgetting his composure.
I am blocked. I can't do a flaming thing unless he removes his stupid Frankish spell, and he can't because he's dead. Now, do you understand me, flybait?
I made up my mind. Saviour or not, I'd rather he went back to where he came from. Well, if there was anything I could do...
There is Skeeve, my boy.
Aahz was suddenly all purrs and teeth again.
All you have to do is fire up the old cauldron or whatever and remove this spell. Then we can each go our separate ways and...
I can't do that.
Okay, kid.
His smile was a little more forced.
I'll stick around until you're on your feet. I mean, what are friends for?
That's not it.
What do you want, blood?
Aahz was no longer smiling.
If you're trying to hold me up,
You don't understand, I interrupted desperately. I can't do it because I can't do it. I don't know how. That stopped him.
That could be a problem. Well, I'll tell you what. Instead of putting the spell here, let's say you just pop me back to my own dimension and I'll get someone there to take it off.
I can't do that either. Remember I told you I'd never even heard of...
Well, what can you do?
I can levitate objects. Well, small objects.
And?
He encouraged. And, I can light a candle.
Light a candle?
Well, almost. Aahz sank heavily into a chair and hid his face in his hands for several minutes. I waited for him to think of something.
Kid, have you got anything that's dumb to drink?
He asked finally. I'll get you some water.
I said something to drink, not something to wash in.
Oh, yes, sir. I hastened to bring him a goblet of wine from the small keg Garkin kept, hoping he wouldn't notice the vessel wasn't particularly clean. Will this do? Will it help you put your powers back?
No, but it might make me feel a little bit better.
He tossed the wine down in one swallow.
Now his note for now,
and studied the goblet disdainfully.
Is this the biggest container you've got?
I cast about the room desperately, but Aahz was way ahead of me. He rose and strode into the pentagram and picked up the brazier. I knew from past experience it was deceptively heavy, but he carried it to the keg as if it were weightless. Not bothering to empty out Garkin's concoction, he filled it to the brim and took a deep draught.
That's better.
He sighed. I felt a bit queasy.
Well, kid,
he said, sweeping me with an appraising stare.
It looks like we're stuck with each other. The setup isn't ideal. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's what we've got. Time to bite the bullet and play the cards we're dealt. You know what cards are, don't you?
Of course, I said, slightly wounded.
Good.
What's a bullet? Aahz closed his eyes as if struggling against some inner turmoil.
Kid,
he said at last,
there's a good chance this partnership is going to drive one of us crazy. I said one of us crazy. I would guess it will be me unless you can knock off the dumb questions every other sentence.
But I can't understand half of what you're saying.
And tell you what I said, I'll tell you what. Try to save the questions and ask me all at one time once a day. Okay?
I'll try.
Right now. Here's the situation as I see it. If Istvan is hiring imps for assassins...
What's an imp?
Kid, will you give me a break?
I'm sorry, Aahz. Keep going.
Right, well... it's happening.
He made his appeal to the heavens.
I can't remember what I was saying.
Imps, I prompted.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, if he's hiring imps and arming them with non-spec weapons, it can only mean he's up to his old tricks. Now, since I don't have my powers, I can't get out of here to sound the alarm. That's where you come in, kid. Kid?
He was looking at me expectantly. I found I could contain my misery no longer. I'm sorry, Aahz, I said in a small, pitiful voice I hardly recognised as my own. I don't understand a single thing you've said. I suddenly realised I was about to cry and turned away hurriedly so he wouldn't see. I sat there with tears trickling down my cheeks, alternately fighting the urge to wipe them away and wondering why I was concerned over whether or not a demon saw me crying. I don't know how long I stayed that way, but I was brought back to reality by a gentle hand on my shoulder, a cold, scaly, gentle hand.
Hey, kid, don't beat up on yourself.
Aahz's voice was surprisingly sympathetic.
It's not your fault if Garkin was tight with his secrets. Nobody expects you to have learned something you were never taught, so there's no reason you should expect it either.
I just feel so stupid, I said, not turning. I'm not stupid.
You aren't stupid, kid. That much I know. Garkin wouldn't have taken you for an apprentice if you were stupid. If anybody here is stupid, I say it's me. I got so carried away with the situation I forgot myself and started talking to an apprentice as if he were a full-blown magician. Now that's stupid.
I still couldn't bring myself to respond.
Here, kid.
He gave my shoulder a gentle shake.
Right now you can do more magic than I can.
But you know more. But I can't use it.
You know, kid, that gives me an idea. With old Garkin dead there, you're kind of cut off. What say you sign on as my apprentice for a while? We'll take it from the top with me teaching you as if you were a new student who didn't know a thing. We'll take it step by step from the beginning. What do you say? What do you say?
In spite of my gloom, I felt my spirits lifting. Like he said, I'm not stupid. I could recognise a golden opportunity when I saw one. Gee, that sounds great, Aahz.
Then it's a deal.
It's a deal, I answered and stuck out my hand.
What's that?
He snarled.
Isn't my word good enough for you?
But you said...
That's right, you're my apprentice now, and I don't go around shaking apprentices' hands.
I withdrew my hand. It occurred to me this alliance might not be all roses and song.
Now, as I was saying, here's what we got to do about the current situation.
But I haven't had any lessons yet.
That's right. Here's your first lesson. When a crisis shapes up, you don't waste energy wishing for information or skills you haven't got. You dig in and handle it as best you can with what you've got. I said with what you've got. Now shut up while I fill you in on the situation. Apprentice.
I shut up and listened. He stood at me for a moment, then gave a small, satisfied nod, took another gulp from the brazier, and began.
Now you have a vague idea about other dimensions because I told you about them earlier. You also have first-hand experience that magicians can open passages in the barriers between those dimensions. Well, different magicians use that power in different ways. Some of them, like Garkin, only use it to impress the yokels, summon a demon, visions of other worlds, that kind of shtick. But there are others whose motives are not so pure. I said they're not so pure.
He paused to take another gulp of wine. Surprisingly, I felt no urge to interrupt with questions.
Technology in different dimensions has progressed at different rates, as has magic. Some magicians use this to their own advantage. They are not showmen. They're smugglers, buying and selling technology across the barriers for profit and power. Most of the inventors in any dimension are actually closet magicians.
I must have frowned without realizing it, but Aahz noted it and acknowledged it with a whine and a smirk.
I know what you're thinking, Skeeve. I said, I know what you're thinking. It all sounds a little dishonest and unscrupulous. Well, actually, they're a fairly ethical bunch. There's a set of unwritten rules called the Smuggler's Code they adhere to pretty closely.
The Smuggler's Code? I asked, forgetting myself for a moment. Aahz didn't seem to mind this time.
It's like the Mercenary's Code, but less violent, more profitable. Anyway, as an example, one item in that code states you cannot bring an invention into a dimension that is too far in advance of that dimension's technology, like bringing guided missiles into a longbow culture or lasers into a flint and powder era.
I kept my silence with great difficulty.
As I've said, most magicians adhere to the code fairly closely. I said fairly closely, but once in a while, a bad one crops up. That brings us to Estevan.
I got a sudden chill at the sound of that name. Maybe there was something different in the way Aahz pronounced it.
Some say Estevan isn't playing with a full deck, but I think he's been playing with his wand too much. Narrator's note, finale. But whatever the...
I'm sorry. It's hard to narrate a joke like that and then lapse into a demon voice. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
But whatever the reason, somewhere he's gotten it into his little head that he wants to rule the dimensions, all of them. He's tried it before, but he got wind of it in time, and a bunch of us teamed up to teach him a lesson and manners. As a matter of fact, that's when I first met Garkin there.
He gestured with the brazier and slopped a bit of wine on the floor. I began to doubt his sobriety, but his voice seemed steady enough as he continued.
I thought he'd given the thing up after his last drumming. We even gave him a few souvenirs to be sure he didn't forget. Then this thing pops up. Now I said, if he's hiring cross-dimension help and arming them with advanced technology weapons, he's probably trying to do it again.
Do what?
I just told you. Take over the dimensions.
I know. But how? I mean, how does what he does in this dimension help him rule the others?
Oh, that. Well, I tell you, each dimension has a certain amount of power that can be channeled or converted into magic. Different dimensions have different amounts, and each dimension's power is divided up or shared by the magicians of that dimension. If he can succeed in controlling or killing the other magicians in this dimension, he can use its entire magical energy to attack another dimension.
Narrator's note, that's a fucking genius magic system.
If he succeeds in winning there, He has the power from 2 dimensions to attack a third, and so on and so on, and I said so forth. As you can see, the longer he keeps his plot moving, the stronger he gets, and the harder he'll be to stop.
Oh, I understand now. I said, genuinely pleased and enthusiastic.
I said, good. Then you could understand why we got to stop him.
I stopped being pleased and enthusiastic. We? You mean us, you and me?
I know it's not much of a force, kid, but like I said, it's all we've got.
I think I'd like a little of that wine now, please.
None of that, kid. You're in training now. You're gonna need all the practice time you can get if we're gonna stop Istvan. Bonkers or not, he's no slouch when it comes to magic.
Oh, I said slowly, not looking up. Tell me the truth. Do you think there's a chance you can teach me enough magic that we'll have a chance of stopping him?
Of course, kid. I said of course, kid. I wouldn't even try if we didn't have a chance. Trust me.
I wasn't convinced. And from the sound of his voice, neither was he. Ooh! Now it's no, I am loving this book. I think it's quite fun. It is quite fun. I have been having the conversation about the next book in that I'm going to do. So I'm going to alternate, most likely, because I love these books, but they're very short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate them in between of some more Tom Holt books. The next one I'm going to do is Odds and Gods, because I freaking love that book. Well, and My Hero, Natch, it's got to be done. And Grail Blazers, because they're the OGs, aren't they? They're the originals. But so after this one, we're going to do Odds and Gods. And that's going to be fun. And then we're going to do the next one in this series. I'm going to go bleep, 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 like that going forward. Hopefully, if I can keep myself up with a decent time scheme. So, as a lot of you been asking as well, my mum's doing an awful lot better. She did have a second episode, but she is doing a lot better than she was. Everything's settling down. Our little rescue pup is doing great. He's settling down. He's doing really well. I mean, he came from a really horrible life, so Ellie's managed to donk her ear. Silly sausage. I don't know if you obviously with spaniel's ears. I mean, I've spaniel's ears. That's a euphemism in some things, but anyway, I digress. But my family's always had spaniels, always. And so this Ellie is a rescue. Her eyes go 2 different ways. You know, every day's a new day. But she's really obedient. She's a very good girl. Anyway, somehow she's bonked her ear. And when she bonked her ear, it started to swell up. Now, I didn't realise that. I thought, has she got a tumour on it? Has she got a cyst on it? Has she got something, this, that, and the other? But no, she's got a massive, great big hematoma, which is between the skin and the cartilage. And the vet said that as soon as, because they drained it all out, bless them, and she had a little steroid in there. She's having a drink right now, you can probably hear it. But they put a steroid injection in her. She's been on steroid medication this week, and she got to go back to the vets tonight. Bolt's come off his steroid injections. That's the cat who had a stroke and then was having seizures. So I'm going to have to wait and see how he's getting on, because the vet, that's kind of like day by day, that one. But back to Ellie. So she's back to the vets tonight. But apparently, once they get a hematoma in the flaps of their ears, it's basically, it separates the skin from the cartilage and it keeps filling up unless they can kind of stop it. So if they get the slightest knock on it, it doesn't. So of course I'm a bit worried about it, because obviously Dengar had a tumour, didn't he, in his ear, and it turned into a brain tumour. So hopefully that's not going to happen, because she's got flappy ears. Her ears, unlike Dengar, which had the big ears on his head, she's got flappy ears, and it's on the flappy bit, not actually on the head bit. So that's actually really, really positive. And that's a technical term. And now the little boy is shouting because he probably wants to go and have another trot outside. So sorry about my waffling and burbling along. As ever, if you're too hot, hydrate, stay in the shade. Don't go out between 11 and 2, because that's when the sun is at its zenith, it's its hottest, and it may be a cloudy day, but always watch out for those UV levels and those UV registers. I know a lot about this, it used to be my job. And I digress. Back in the day, another one of my jobs. But yes, if you're too cold, and if it's rainy, keep warm and snuggled up in a fleece or blankie and a nice cup of tea. And tell me, what is your favourite spoon? Spoons are awesome. And actually, one thing I remember, I don't know if anybody from the UK would remember Radio 1, Steve Wright in the Afternoon, back in the day. And this is just something that I've always remembered, right? And we're talking 35 years ago, I think, at least, or maybe 40 years ago. Diamond geezer. I get serious. Talk about a guy who makes you delirious. He's a man with us with a vacant stare. Tap him on the forehead. There's nothing there. He's no Einstein. He's no cool cat. Is he a... No, he's a Pratt. He's Mr. Spoons. Mr. Spoons. Do you remember that? Steve Wright was awesome. I miss him. Anyway, lovely, lovely beans. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for visiting. And let's cross fingers that I can do another one in a couple of days' time. Big love. Talk to you later, Petal.